Okay guys, today we're back. We're starting to have a look at flexibility and balance and proprioception. We're going to look at especially that troublesome right ankle with the Weight Bearing Lunge Test and the Star Excursion Balance Test to start to give us some baseline of data that we can use to track my progression over time. We know there's some research around ankle sprains in both of these tests, so for me they're going to be really interesting findings to have a look at when I'm considering my program going forward. So first we're going to start with the Weight Bearing Lunge Test. We're going to come onto our trusty mat here. And so, like we normally do, we'll set up in the position to perform the Weight Bearing Lunge Test on the mat. Now, obviously, it's not going to probably be the most accurate or reliable way. I'd obviously, ideally have a therapist or a trainer here doing these measurements for me, but I'm going to back my skills in enough today to be able to perform these on myself. So, when we look at my left ankle, I'm looking at about 12 centimeters or so. And when we look at the research, we know that 10 to 12 centimeters is considered average or sort of normal in the population. When we switch over to my right side, we come and take a measurement and we can see that we've got 8 centimeters. So 8 centimeters on the right, 12 on the left. Now, this isn't going to be a surprise to anyone who's come to one of our courses so far. I've obviously seen a few videos, where I've had some troubles with this ankle previously. Now, we know from different research papers we can measure distance. That's a reliable measure for the Weight Bearing Lunge Test, but also we can start to look with an inclinometer. So go ahead to your mobile. If you've got an Apple device, it's in the measure section. Otherwise, download an inclinometer app onto your smart device or tablet. And again, we can go ahead and start to measure this. So I'm going to put this 10 centimeters down from the tibial tubercle. And again, I'm going to start to take an angulation with there. So I'm going to be at 40 degrees on the left. Really important that when you're using the inclinometer, that you make sure that it's zeroed first. So you put it down on the floor and make sure that it reads 0. If it doesn't, just tap the screen and that'll reset it for you, providing obviously your floors is straight and isn't on a lean. And then, so we had 40 on the left. I'm going to go and repeat the same on my right side there. And what we can see is about 35 degrees. And from the research, we know that anything less than 35 to 38 centimeters, depending on which paper you read, is considered restricted as well. So we can see, and the average is about 45 degrees or so. So we can see both of mine a little bit less than normal there, or the normative data. And obviously a bit of a discrepancy side to side there. The research suggests that 2 centimeters difference is clinically relevant. So obviously I'm falling outside in both the distance, but also giving me some indication I need to do some work on this right ankle, given that the angle inclination there is also a little bit restricted too. So from there, I'm going to start to look at the Star Excursion Balance Test. One of my favourite tests, as everyone knows who comes to the Mat Live or the Mat Online courses. And because it really does allow us to look at lots of different capacities that an individual may need to complete certain tasks. It also obviously looks like a regression of a walk or a lunge, some of those fundamental movements, but it assesses balance and proprioception, as we already said, gives me a look into someone's flexibility, lets me know a bit about their stability, as well as their strength, but also lets me know about their motor planning and motor coordination as well. So for me, it gives me a lot of insight and useful clinical markers that I can start to use to help with my clinical reasoning. So again, I'm going to go and we're going to measure all 8 sides, all 8 directions, sorry, with the Star Excursion Balance Test. Now, you can see all this data on our MAT website and in the link above. And you can go and track that for all the tests that we've either done so far or that are coming over the weeks to come. All right, so there you have it. There are all the reaches done. Let's go back and just have a look at my anterior reach for a minute. So I'm going to start on the left leg and perform the anterior reach 3 times. I'm going to take the average of those reaches. Okay, so I'm going to get about 64 centimeters on that left side. When I switch to the right side, I'm getting to about 55 centimeters on average. So again, big discrepancy side to side. When we look at the research, a lot of the papers suggest around that 4 centimetres is that cut-off point for potential higher injury risk. The first big paper that was done was Gribble in 2012, and there's been lots since that have shown that that's that important cut-off point. So for me, given that I've got a 9 centimetre difference there, again, that's giving me some indication that there's some things that I need to improve going forward on that right side. So there's a great paper that came out this year, the first one that I've actually seen, which has looked at the Star Excursion Balance Test and people in different height ranges. So people in my height range, the 161 to 170 centimetres, they worked out that the average for the anterior reach was about 67 centimetres. So given the fact that I'm getting 55 and 64, you're seeing that I'm falling well below average there. We also look at different papers and we start to normatise the data compared to our limb length. So my limb length being about 79 centimetres, getting my trusty calculator out here so my math doesn't fail me. And when I look at that 64 centimetres and try and make that normative compared to my limb length, all of a sudden I'm seeing that I'm reaching about 81% of my limb length, which is actually quite good. So depending on which paper you read, you're looking at about 78% to about 83% of your limb length you should be able to reach for that anterior reach. When we look at the right side though, there's some issues there. So if I go again, I'll put that 55 in and divide that by that 79, that puts me at 69% of my anterior reach, of my leg length that I can actually reach. So again, this gives me some multiple indications using multiple bits of data from multiple studies around some areas that I may want to improve. So that's going to form an important part of my program going forward. Now, we still don't have all the reasons why that this might be happening. We still don't know. Look, we know there's some ankle mobility, so that could be the main reason contributing to that. It could be the fact that there's some strength and stability issues that we haven't gone ahead and tested. That'll form part of the testing over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Or maybe if we rule those out, maybe it's just, and we fix the ankle mobility and I'm still having these issues, maybe it's just a balance and proprioception problem. We'll find that out as we go. All right. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow where we start to look at some of our other mat tests.